Welcome to the Season of Self-Love podcast. I am your host, Nyomi Banks, and I am thrilled to have you join me on this transformative journey. You see, every day we dive into a powerful conversation about self-discovery, healing, and empowerment. This podcast is brought to you by Ask Nyomi and Elevate Me Self-Discovery, where we believe that loving yourself is the first step to living a fulfilling life. You can expect insightful discussions, practical tips, and inspiring stories. Plus, we'll occasionally welcome special guests who will share their unique perspectives on self-love and personal growth. So get comfy, grab your favorite beverage, and let's embark on this journey together. Because it's time to embrace the beautiful person that you are. So let's elevate our lives one episode at a time. Now let's get started. All right, my beautiful people. Well, welcome back to the Season of Self-Love podcast. I am your host, Nyomi Banks, and as always, I am so grateful to be here with you as we continue this journey of growth, healing, and self-love. You know, today is Wisdom Wednesday, and this month we are diving into our May series, Nurturing Relationship, Fostering Healthy Connections. And let me tell you, this topic is so important because the way we love ourselves sets the tone for how we allow others to love us. Now, let's be real. How many of us struggle with setting boundaries in our relationships? Whether it's family, friendships, or romantic partners, boundaries are the foundation of healthy connections. And today we are going to get into it with someone who knows this journey inside out. And that is best-selling author Leslie Lindsay Davis. Wow, what an ironic name that you have there, Miss Leslie. Well, before we bring Miss Leslie into this, we're going to take a quick break, all right? It's your girl, the goddess, Nyomi Banks, here on the Season of Self-Love podcast, and we'll be right back.
Washington Wellness Institute focuses on healing always. For me, if I look good, then I feel good. If I feel good, then I share the good. If I share the good, then I celebrate the good. If I celebrate the good, then I live the good, so I can be paid to be my greatest. But I have to learn the good to be the good.
So, what does it take to be the greatest? It's as simple as a free 15-minute consultation. Be kind to yourself and heal always.
Hey, it's your girl, the goddess, Nyomi Banks, and make sure you tune in every Thursday night to Ask Nyomi Bridging the Gap podcast, where we talk about everything from love, sex, relationship, cultural differences, and so much more. We're bridging the gap between them all, and we even talk about spiritual uplifting. You need to stop by. Me and Dr. Mike, as well as the BTG crew. We have some amazing guests that come through. You never know. Just make sure you tune in Thursday night, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Go to axnaomi.com and tell them Nyomi sent you. All right, my beautiful people, well, welcome back. Leslie Davis, her books dive deep into self-love, boundaries, and personal transformation. And she's here to share her powerful insight with us today. Hi, Miss Leslie.
Hello, Nyomi. I am so excited to get this conversation started, but I know you said that we have to wait. Yes. We have to do a meditation first so that we are centered, yes, so that we are focused.
Yes.
And so I will calm myself, yes, while we do the meditation.
All right, my beautiful people. As you just heard, Miss Leslie just walked us in. So if you could all just close your eyes for a moment and just get ready to prepare for our grounding. Take a deep breath in and hold it. Now slowly exhale. Inhale deeply again, filling your lungs with fresh energy. And exhale, releasing any stress or tension. Now I want you to visualize a warm, loving light surrounding you. And this light represents your self-worth, your love, and your power. Now with every inhale, I want you to breathe in confidence, in peace. And with every exhale, I want you to release any self-doubt, fear, or guilt. Now silently repeat to yourself, I am worthy of love and respect. I honor myself by setting healthy boundaries. I choose relationships that nourish me. Now take one more final deep breath in. And when you are ready, please open your eyes. All right, my beautiful people, if you are new here to the Season of Self-Love podcast, it's something that we do every day, Monday through Friday, here just to ground ourselves before we get into the topic at hand. So now that we are grounded, we are now here with Miss Leslie Davis. Miss Leslie, you ready?
I am ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I guess we need to ask the listeners, are y'all ready?
Hold on to your hats and buckle your seatbelts.
All right, Miss Leslie, you have written some powerful books about self-love and transformation. So can you share a little bit about your journey?
Well, like so many of the people who are listening right now, about 7 or 8 years ago, I hit a point in my life where I was at such a low point. I realized that I could go one of two directions. I could either keep going the way that I was going and end up in a not very good place, or I could become the best version of myself and get healthy mentally, physically, and emotionally. Well, silly me, I decided to go the getting healthy mentally, physically, and emotionally way. And I thought the hard part was going to be getting healthy physically. Well, let me tell you right now, spoiler alert, that was the easy part. The hard part was dealing with all of the emotional noise and the myths and all of that misguided nonsense that we have been told all of our lives. And as I was doing the hard work of the hard work, what I suddenly realized is I thought that nobody loved me. And the smack my head moment was realizing the only person in my world who did not love me was me. And I realized that I had what I like to call a myself-sized hole in my heart. And for me personally, I had been filling that with food. That was my drug of choice. That was my way of not dealing with the pain, not dealing with any emotions that were uncomfortable. And for me, the only emotion I was comfortable with was being mad or angry, or, sometimes a little bit happy, but not very often. But then I began to recognize that part of my problem was I had taught other people how to treat me. Now, that giant epiphany occurred when I got a dog and decided to go to a trainer and train the dog. Well, again, spoiler alert, if you're going to a really good trainer, they're actually training you. The dog already knows what to do. And the teacher referenced a book called Don't Shoot the Dogs. Now, before anybody gets excited and starts calling PETA and the SPCA, it's not about actually shooting a dog. What it's talking about is we reward, if we are working with a dog or a person, if we reward that dog or person for the behavior that we want to continue, and we ignore the behavior that we want to stop, then they actually will start doing the behavior that we want to continue. Okay, so what does that have to do with loving myself? What I started recognizing is I was teaching other people how to treat me through my words and my actions. When I would drop a plate and I would recount the story and talk about how clumsy I was, how this is always ridiculous. I'm forever tripping. I'm telling other people, I am giving them permission to call me clumsy, to call me whatever the heck it was that I was telling them. And in those moments, I realized I can change that. I can reframe that. I can say, you know what? I was busy listening to this amazing podcast. You really need to listen to Nyomi. I'm, so wrapped up in this podcast. I'm washing the dishes. I'm loading the dishwasher. My hands are wet. The plate slips. It hits the floor. My floor is tile. So of course the plate breaks. Period. Period. At no point did I give anyone any information on how to treat me. Now, what does that have to do with boundaries? Everything. Because the first boundary that we need to establish in order to really love ourselves is the boundary with ourself. The way we speak to, the way we think about, and the way we treat ourselves needs to be so powerful that when we are dealing with the world sees the boundary that we have with them, and they know what we will and will not accept.
I love that. When you just said that, this saying came to me that my mom used to say to me all the time. She used to say, treat people the way you want to be treated. She used to say that all the time, treat people the way you want to be treated. When I decided to do the season of self-love, what I realized, I found out the very thing that you said, that I was teaching people on how to treat me. Meaning that even though I might be treating someone well, it wasn't well for them to treat me well. It was coming from an unhealed place, a place of wanting worthiness. You understand what I'm saying? And searching for that love, because I didn't know how to treat myself. I didn't understand what that was. I was going on how everyone else was telling me or who I am or what I can and I cannot do. And I think that is what we do in society as a whole. We don't know how to that, because when we talk about self-love, it's just they figure that it's just a simple thing, just two words just put together, just that's it, period. Not understanding that this is an intimate relationship with ourselves, knowing who we are and embracing us entirely in all of our fascinating and all of our
Ugliness.
drama.
And part of what I did was I started recognizing that I needed to have a relationship with my very best friend in the whole wide world. And that person is the person who looks back at you in the mirror when you stand in front of the mirror. And I started having written conversations with myself. And the reason that I started doing that is I started observing thoughts that were coming into my mind, behavior that I was doing. For example, I would eat a whole bunch of unplanned food and I'm like, wait a minute, hold on, what was going on? And for me, putting it in writing gets the hamsters off the wheels in my head and sends them back to the pet market. So I'm on a campaign to get all the hamsters back to the pet market. Let's put the pet market out of business when it comes to hamsters. If you have a written conversation, and I do have a conversation, it's a back and it's a forth. I will say to myself, well, of course you're feeling that way. Why wouldn't you be feeling that way? I would, acknowledge my thoughts, my ideas. And here is the other thing that I do. And I called myself out on this one day. There was a situation going on where I was really, really, really got that angry with someone. And I'm having this written conversation, which I try and do it almost every morning, first thing before my day is going. And I'm dancing all around this consuming anger. And finally, I wrote, "Who are you lying to?" And then as I'm crying and writing, I wrote, "I seize everything. Me and myself just want to feel better." And then I wrote what I was really feeling, which was actually that I wanted the person to go ahead and die, that I was that angry with them. But let me tell you something. I quit lying to myself about my true and honest feelings, and then I was able to release it. Did I act on it? No. Did I continue carrying that? No. I had released what I really felt in that moment. And that's part of loving yourself. when we can be honest with ourselves about what we are truly and honestly feeling in the moment, even if it is celebration when that person who stole our, boyfriend or whatever, and the karma hits, like my ex-husband lost a leg, and I'm like, well, I'm glad I'm not in that situation. It's okay. It's all right for us to be honest about what we're feeling, because when we spend our time lying to ourselves, well, then we're not being our true, authentic self. Does that mean that we run around to the world? Yes, I am on a podcast with you, so that's the only reason I'm bringing up these points. But do we run around to the world sharing these things to the world? No, no. I do not reread almost anything that I write. It's a conversation. If we were not recording this conversation would go off into the ether, and but that's why I don't reread what I write. But you know something? When we love ourselves, that means that we are being honest with ourselves. We are honoring what we are really and truly feeling in the moment, the good, the bad, the ugly. We're honoring it, because if we take energy from ourselves to deny what we are truly feeling, the world is seeing that they can treat us in whatever way they wish to treat us. And your mother taught you, or she gave you the thing, treat others as you would like to be treated. Well, that is all well and good. However, where is the let me teach other people how I want to be treated? Mm-hmm. And when we are taught, especially as females, when we are taught that we need to live a life of self-denial, there is no room for self-love. Because truthfully, when we love ourselves passionately, we are prioritizing ourselves, even if it's 5 minutes in the morning. We are putting ourselves first. We are filling ourselves up before we try and give, instead of doing what I used to do, and what probably so many others who are listening right now are doing. You're trying to run around with an empty pitcher, spitting into it, trying to pour for other people. And by the time you get to the end of the day, you have no more saliva. So you're frantically trying to figure out, that can I get some sweat so I'm dripping in the pitcher? It does sound absurd, but let's be honest. Isn't that what we're doing?
Yeah, that is so real. That is so real. My co-host in the morning on Mondays, Dr. Will, I remember our first conversation that we ever had, and I was saying about, pouring from a empty cup or a half-filled cup. He said, how about you allowing your cup to be full and run over, that you don't have to tip it at all, that you just allow it just to overflow into your loved ones, in that aspect. So when you said that just, it rings so many bells, because for us as women, we are nurturers. This is who we're supposed to be. We are mothers. We are wives. We do all of these things to take care of our family, as well as sometimes being even the breadwinner of a family, especially if you were divorced or single mothers or anything like that. So we are not taught to put ourselves first. We're not at all. But this is the thing. If you really look at it and we really stop and just pay attention, wouldn't it be best that we do put ourselves first, so we can give you the best version of us? I don't think people look at that. If we truly allow ourselves to take care of ourselves first, then we can show up at the very best person that we can for another.
Exactly. Because it's only when we are prioritizing ourselves that we can live a life that is resentment free, that we are not, constantly waiting for that proverbial straw that's going to break the camel's back. And I love that he is telling you, to envision that cup where it's just flowing over. Because truthfully, when we are prioritizing ourselves, when we are pushing back on the myth that as women, it is our responsibility to make sure that everybody is happy at the expense of ourselves. When we push back on that myth, let me tell you something. The world does not stop. Instead, what happens is we are then empowering other people to live their best life because they are observing how we are prioritizing ourselves, how we are taking care of ourselves. And as a consequence, we are giving out of abundance.
Yes.
We are not giving out of lack. Now, I'm going to say this. When we start prioritizing ourselves, when we start shifting our focus so that we are making certain that our needs are being met, that doesn't mean that we run around and tell everybody else, get out of my way. No. As I said, I take about, anywhere from 5 to 45 minutes first thing every morning. Also, I observe, the things that I say yes to. But back to my point before I ran off on the parenthetical. When we start prioritizing ourselves, the people who are around us may start feeling uncomfortable, because when we do that, all of a sudden we have rewritten the script. Because remember what I said earlier, we teach people how to treat us. When we start prioritizing ourselves, when we start taking care of ourselves, when we start listening to ourselves, you know what? In this moment, I'm feeling really sad and I just need to kind of be by myself for just a moment. Or in this moment, this is not really what I want to do. So I need to figure out how I need to, handle this situation. When we start doing that and taking care of ourselves and loving ourselves and treating ourselves as if we are the most precious possession we have, which we are, by the way, then the people around us are going to feel uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
We are not responsible for their discomfort.
Yeah.
That is on them. There is only one person we are in charge of, in control of, can make anything, whatever, and that is us.
Yeah.
Everyone else has to do them.
Yeah.
And I'm going to throw in a freebie here. How many times do we say, so-and-so made me happy, so-and-so made me sad, so-and-so made me feel in the emotion? Mm-hmm. No, stop now. Choose to feel happy. Choose to feel sad. Choose. It's a choice. No one can make you anything, well, except reservations for dinner. And I prefer a 5-star restaurant and you pick up the tab.
I love that. Oh my goodness. I want to share a story with you. Just last night, I had a conversation with a good girlfriend of mine. And it's something that I've been doing lately. I've been known for someone that would sit there and have a big ear for everyone, have a big ear, my shoulder, and they will talk. I give my advice, talk. I give my advice, talk. So I said, well, let me try something. I said, I want to talk about myself. I want to give you a moment. I want to, say something about myself. As soon as I said one word about myself, she cut me off and she got to talking again. So I allowed her to say what she had to say. And then I said, okay, I said, that was good that you said that. And I said, I'm glad I said, but can I say something to you? I said, after all of these years, I've always been an ear. And I said, and we've been best of friends, right? She said, yeah. I said, but the moment that I just shared something with you, you cut me off. And you was not an ear for me. I said, and I learned this within the past 2 years, is that I would no longer allow anyone to use me as a dumpster. I am not a dumpster. And she said, oh my God, you are so right. You are so sorry. I said, yes. I said, we are supposed to feed into each other, pour into each other. I can't allow you to continue to keep dumping on me. And I told this to my aunt. I told this to my cousin. That is my new thing now. So when people call, like, are you ready for it? But that would, when you start to do that, when you start to, like you said, teach people on how to treat you, then yeah, that's when I knew, like, it's time for me to really start to speak and tell people exactly who I am. I will be here for you. But when I have something to say, I would love for you to listen and hear me out too, because we are in a relationship. So if I'm loving myself, I have to teach you on how to love me. And hopefully that you can see what I'm doing, and hopefully you can love yourself just that much more. Yeah.
So what you were dealing with is someone who hijacks a conversation.
Oh, yeah.
And what I discovered is people who are busy hijacking conversations are doing it because they don't feel heard. Now, that doesn't mean that you are not listening. That has nothing to do with you. It has to do with them, which circles back to what I said earlier. We are only in control and in charge of us. That person does not feel heard. So my question to that person, when they start, and I love the visual, I'm not a dumpster, because that's so much bigger than a garbage can.
Yeah.
I'm not a dumpster. My question to that person is, or would be, have you ever tried having a written conversation with yourself? Because it seems to me that I keep hearing you talk about the same thing.
Yes.
And part of what I discovered was my very best friend in the whole wide world doesn't really care if I'm talking about the same thing 1,000th time, 1,000,000th time, 2:00 in the morning, at 3:00 in the afternoon. My very best friend in the whole wide world is never tired of hearing me go on and on and on and, beating that same drum. But people, flesh and blood people, they get really tired because, as you have already said, you feel as if you're involved in this one-way conversation where the telephone is only the mouthpiece of the telephone is only working one way.
Yeah.
So, as I said, I would have said, have you tried having a written conversation with yourself to see if that might help you work this out? Because I keep hearing you talk about the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
And the other piece that I learned is when someone starts dumping on me like that, I can sit quietly because I know I hear myself. So I'm not feeling the need to jump in, but I will also ask them when they take a breath, are you wanting my advice or do you need me to just listen? Because then that puts, the onus on them. They can be pulled up really abruptly. Oh, wait, hold on. Here I am dumping all this stuff. And then you're asking me, do I want advice or do I need you just to listen? So then they have to make a decision. But then they can define the parameters. Now, the flip of that, which I do with my husband, he's a slow learner, but that's okay. I will tell him, right now, I just need you to listen. I don't need you to solve my problem. I simply need you to listen. So I will lay out the ground rules before we ever start a conversation. So if you go back and have a conversation with your friend or anybody else who has a tendency to do that, you can lay the ground rules before you ever start in on your whatever. And then as soon as they try to hijack the conversation, you can remind them, hey, hold on just a minute. You said that you were more than willing to listen to me. I'm not quite finished. Yeah. And how much better would you feel? But the other piece is you are now teaching your friend to be respectful to you, towards you, of you, about you, and your needs to be heard. Because I get it. I have people in my work world. I no longer do that. I retired, years ago. But anyway, I had people who would constantly, talk about dumpster. Holy Toledo. And they never had 5 seconds to hear me. So I just shut down. And that, that's what so many of us do when the dumpster is being dumped into. we have a tendency to pull in, to withdraw, to, because we don't want to be that bad friend.
Yeah.
We don't want to not listen to them. They've got all these problems. They've got all these troubles. They've got all these struggles. They're living this kind, whatever the story is that we make up about their life. And that's the important piece. Whatever the story is that we make up about their life, we have then put our life, our needs, our dreams, our desires, not even second place. Oh, no. They are way out there. Mm-hmm. And we are teaching them to deprioritize us.
Yes.
So if we can begin the conversation with the ground rules and make certain that we are clear and use I statements, not you statements. Right now, I need you to listen. Mm-hmm. This is really troubling me, or I just need someone to help me. I just need someone to listen so I can figure this out.
Right. No, thank you for that. It was funny when I was speaking with my husband not too long ago, and I have always been the one to show up for everyone, to be there and talk. And I truly showed people on, she's going to be there. She's going to be there for us. We don't have to worry about any of that. She's going to be that ear for us. And whatever she has going on, she's going to make sure that we're going to be a part of it. But once I started to put myself first and really tap into me and go beyond my fears, then there were certain individuals that looked at me like, well, what happened to me? And I'm like, okay, I'm not, okay, I'm going to do this on my own. And then once then I'm going, oh, so you don't want me to, so you, and it was just such a thing. And the thing is, for me, is I remember that was a part of a relationship that had went and broke up. It was it was a family member that I loved. I still love her dearly. I loved her dearly, but God had continued to show me who this person was. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it that what this person was. And it was such a minor thing that this person did. And it just showed me, it was like, okay, I showed you once, you went back in. I showed you twice, you went back in. All right, I'm about to show you just one of the simplest things to show you who she really is. And it went and it came, and I was like, oh my God, I totally missed that. But then the guilt come in. The guilt come in is because, like you said, you want to be that very best friend. You want to be that person that is always there to support everybody, that's always there. So this is my question to you. What would you say to someone who is struggling with that feeling of guilty for setting them, for being there all the time? What is that guilt? How can we get through that?
Well, I would say to them the same thing I said to myself. I'm only in control of me. I'm not in control of anyone else. And I need to stop making up stories in my own head about what they are thinking, what they are feeling, what they are going to do next. And I need to accept that as I start loving myself and prioritizing myself, there are going to be people in my world who are uncomfortable, but that's not on me. Their discomfort is not on me. If I am being intentional, and I'm glad that you mentioned God, if I am doing what God wants me to do, if I'm living the life that He has laid out for me to live, if I am constantly in communication with Him and checking in with Him as far as my actions, thoughts, and behaviors, and I know that I'm aligned there, then really and truly, is it my responsibility that they be comfortable? No, it is not. Do I feel sad? Yes, I feel sad. But the other thing that I started recognizing is some of those people simply move to Pluto and only come by me every now and then. But it is not my responsibility to ensure that they are comfortable. Because again, our actions, our thoughts, our words teach other people how to treat us. And if we are saying, okay, I had decided that I'm going to prioritize myself, I'm going to do all these things for myself, And we know that we've got this person in our world, that something's a little bit, and it can be a family member. And let's be really clear.
Yeah.
The opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is indifference. We can love someone and just not want to be in a relationship with them. That is okay. So if we have this person, we're like, and then God shows us who they really and truly are. And we're like, you know what? I really don't want to have a relationship with them of any kind. That's a decision that we make. We don't need to announce it or put it on a billboard or flash it in neon lights or anything else. We can simply demonstrate that by our actions and our words when we are around that person. But remember, you're only in control of you. You're not in control of that other person and what they choose to do as you continue loving yourself and building that relationship with your very best friend in the whole wide world and bringing God in so that he is making certain that you are building the right relationship. Then does it matter how uncomfortable that other person is?
Not at all. Not at all.
So where did that guilt go?
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. And why I keep saying not at all is because we do, times it's hard for people to let go. That was a series that we had in March about letting go of those limited beliefs, all of those things. And so for anyone that wants to be able to do boundaries or setting boundaries today, what practical ways can our listeners start with?
Well, the number one thing that I always recommend when we're setting boundaries and learning to love ourselves is start with having written conversations with yourself. And why do I say written? When you are writing, different mechanisms in your brain are triggered. Okay, don't type, don't have the hamsters on the wheel continuing on and on. Written conversations, ask yourself questions. If something is going on, ask yourself, what is really going on? Why am I really feeling this way? And be honest with yourself. Observe your behavior. And then the second thing that I recommend, and I do this myself, start paying attention to the words that you use when you are speaking about yourself, even if it's in your own head.
Yes.
Catch yourself. Reframe those statements.
Yes.
Even if it's mid-sentence, catch it and reframe it. I laugh in my book, The Journey from Failing to Healing. I talk about, I had to go home and look up what reframing was because I thought it was just, taking a picture out and buying a whole new frame at Hobby Lobby or something. No, reframing is taking the words that you were trying to put out there and putting them into factual statements. Let's focus on behavior. Use I statements, not he made me, because remember, no one can make you anything except reservations for dinner. You know where I want to go. So those are the two things that I recommend that people begin with: having written conversations with themselves and be honest. Don't reread it. It's really not helpful to reread what you're writing. And also, I find when I reread things, I start second guessing myself. But if you can have that honest written conversation with yourself, and remember this, I knows everything. Me and myself want you to be happy, but there's another person in the room who knows every single solitary thought that you have, and that's God. So if we try and lie to ourselves, who are we really lying to?
To God.
That's right. Can we have a solid relationship with him if it's built on a lie? No, we cannot.
No, we cannot.
But if we can have that honest relationship with ourselves, that strengthens that relationship with him. And then we start paying attention to how we are thinking about ourselves, how we are talking about ourselves. Let's catch those unhelpful thoughts. Let's catch those unhelpful phrases. Let's catch those words that are telling the world, yeah, I'm a doormat. Let's catch them. Let's reframe them. you know what? This is what happened. This is what was going on, period. Yes. Period.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I promise you, if you can do those two things for 30 days, your life will be transformed.
Beautiful. I love that. And thank you for sharing. One thing is that we say here is that words are powerful. Words are magic. I remember when I first started this podcast, The Season of Self-Love, it was actually a little mini series, a 4-week series that was for my birthday in October when I turned 51. So it was going into my new book. 51 is my new book. And I wanted to do something different. And I always talked about self-love. I was going through my self-love journey myself. And so I wanted to share it with my Ask Nyomi audience. And so in that process, I said, well, let me do on Tuesdays. It was on Tuesday. Every Tuesday, we're going to do this 4-week series. Every Tuesday live, we're going to talk about self-love. We're going to talk about self-love and go deep into it. And it was an amazing book that I read, The 4 Agreements. The 4 Agreements. And the very first agreements was use your words impeccably. And I've read this book at least 10 times already. I've read this book about 10 times. And I kept thinking about those words. I kept thinking about how we use the words, not only with ourselves, but with others. And I remember my mom and my dad using those words, and, teachers and principals and coaches and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh my God, if we truly knew how powerful these words were to individuals and how much damage that we can do to someone with just a simple word, we will stop using those words and we will think twice about what these words truly mean. So when you say that about speaking to ourselves, because we always talk about positive self-talk to ourselves, but then let's go deeper. I love the way that you say, have that conversation, write it. And it's more than just writing a letter to yourself. You talking about sitting there having a conversation. I, me, whatever your name is, like Nyomi, girl, what you doing today? Girl, I don't know. How you feeling today? Excuse me. Girl, I don't know. Well, why you don't know? Well, why are you feeling this way? And I love that. We talk about writing and journal. This is a different type of journal, and I like this. This is a different type of journal that you're speaking to yourself. And thank you for sharing that with us. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I like that you mentioned words because back when I was significantly younger, there was the expression, sticks and stones can break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And even when I was younger, I didn't like the expression. And in the journey from failing to healing, I talk about words do damage beyond what a physical injury can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we need to make certain that we are using our words with kindness and with intention, because a word that we just throw out there can do so much damage. And worse than that, I don't know about you, they rattle around in your head.
Yes.
And they become like a ping pong.
Yeah.
One of those pinball games.
Yeah.
And they pile on the damage.
Yeah.
So there is no way to love yourself when you're allowing that pinball to fly around in your head.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when we start paying attention to how we're speaking to ourselves and how we are speaking to others, and make certain that we are speaking with kindness and be clear on our intention, then everything else is going to be okay. Because again, we're not responsible for what somebody else does, thinks, or believes.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard you say about your book title, Failing to Healing.
The Journey from Failing to Healing.
The Journey from Failing to Healing.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, it truly is the the story of how I learned to love myself and how I built a relationship with God. And it's not really a book as in, it reads from one chapter, flows to it's 12 different segments. And one segment is there are never enough Band-Aids. And that focuses on Psalm 147:3, which says, God heals my broken heart and binds all my wounds. Mm. And what I recognized from that was that he healed my broken heart. It didn't mean that the scars weren't still there. Right. But beyond that, he healed my wounds, the wounds that you can't see. I mean, I got scars all over my, from various and sundry things. But he healed the scars of abandonment, of rejection, of, all those scars that we carry that we cannot see, but they are there just as big and bright as a physical scar. And so the book is talking about those kinds of things. And one other chapter talks about how I wanted to not be me, because if I was not me, people would love me. But then I came to recognize that if I was not me, then I wouldn't be fulfilling the purpose that God had put me on the earth to fulfill. And the journey from failing, and it's F.A.I.L, which is first attempt in learning, to healing, which is healthy emotions and loving myself.
Oh, beautiful.
So it's about learning to love really the journey from first attempts in learning and building healthy emotions and loving myself. Because how many times do we try things and then people tell us that you're a failure or whatever? Well, tell them, thank you. I know it's my first attempt in learning. Thank you so much. I'm celebrating.
Right. So I have one more question for you. What is self-love to you?
Self-love to me means that I am listening to myself, listening to my fears, my celebrations. I'm listening to my doubts. I'm honoring them. I am not trying to lie to myself about what's really going on. Self-love to me, means that I am checking in with myself and making sure that I'm operating from a place of kindness and being clear about my intentions so that I can put something out there and not have any regret.
Yeah.
Self-love also means understanding I'm only in charge of me. I'm not in charge of somebody else. And I have options. And when I have options, I can make choices. And when I can make choices, then I am empowered. And when I am empowered, I am free.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Miss Leslie. That was beautiful. Thank you. Really.
Well, thank you, Nyomi.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I am envious of your picture of the Eiffel Tower behind you.
Thank you.
The Eiffel Tower at night is magic.
It is
magic. I've been there. It's magic.
Yes. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So, Leslie, this has been such an empowering conversation. I truly love it. And, I know, where can our listeners find your books and connect with you?
Well, the easiest place to find out anything about me, including a way to message me or email me or whatever, is on my website, which is youcan'teatlove.com. All my books are there and everything is there.
I love that. I love that. I love that. All right, my beautiful people. Again, thank you all for tuning in. Again, Leslie, thank you. And I want you to remember that loving yourself is the first step to nurturing a healthy relationship. And make sure you grab our free Year Rebirth workbook right there at the Season of Self-Love podcast, as well as make sure you go and visit Miss Leslie Davis, her website as well. So until next time, I want you to set those boundaries, love yourself fiercely, and keep growing. Have an amazing day. Thank you for joining us on this journey of discovery and empowerment here at the Season of Self-Love podcast. Remember, Embracing self-love is a continuous journey, and we're so glad to have you with us. So if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review. And don't forget to join our community on Facebook at Season of Self-Love. Connect with like-minded individuals who are also on their self-love journey. Now, if you have any questions or topics that you'd like for us to explore, we love to hear from you. Email us at seasonofselflove@gmail.com and let your voice be heard. So until next time, take a moment for yourself today and remember, you are worthy of love, joy, and all the beautiful things that life has to offer.